The Indianapolis Colts defense is set to have a major boost this week with the return of Grover Stewart and potentially the return of rookie standout JuJu Brents. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you all for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. This is your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by DoorDash. A few minutes ago, I placed my very own DoorDash order to get my favorite meal from a local chain that I'm in my local area I'm from. But if I were in Indy right now, guys, I swear me and Jake would be just going to town on some Portillo's. I love Portillo's so much there whenever I'm out there in Indy. So if I were out there in Indy with Jake right now, we could be going crazy with some Portillo's on DoorDash. My meal should be here before the show is over, but if I were out there in Indy, Portillo's would be the greatest place. So place your order today using promo code LOCKED23. Stay tuned later in the episode to hear more from our friends over at DoorDash. Hello, everyone. I am Zach Hicks, your favorite co-host here on the Locked On Colts podcast and your favorite film nerd over at horseshoehuddle.com. Today, we're going to talk about the return of a couple of Colts players that could really bolster this defense against a Cincinnati Bengals offense that might be tougher than what they look like on paper. And then after that, we're going to go through our keys of the game on offense, how the Colts need to feed their superstar wide receiver, Michael Pittman Jr., if they want to get ahead in this one. And then on defense, how they need to disrupt surprising young quarterback, Jake Browning. Again, I don't really know what to think of Jake Browning right now, but the Colts need to disrupt him in order to have success on defense. But first, let's talk about the return of a couple key players. The Indianapolis Colts recently just released their injury report for this weekend's game, which is why this episode's out a little bit later today. I wanted to make sure we got this final injury report here in this episode. Jonathan Taylor is out for this game. Of course, we kind of expected that with his thumb injury that he was not going to be playing in this one. And right tackle Braden Smith will also be out. So the Colts offense is hampered a little bit. They could be missing a couple players there, but they've been so good this whole year at filling in. Zach Moss and Blake Freeland are going to step into the starting role. So those guys will be back. On defense, though, we got some good news where, Grover Stewart is certainly coming back. Shane Steichen even joked in his press availability that, Grover Stewart is most likely going to start. He was basically asked if Grover Stewart was going to start this game, and he laughed and said, yeah, it's a good chance that he starts this one. So nose tackle Grover Stewart will be starting this upcoming game. And then rookie cornerback JuJu Brents, who's been missing the last 5 games with a quad injury. Weirdly, that the Colts didn't put him on IR with that injury, but I digress there. JuJu Brents is a game time decision, so he could be active for the first time in 5 weeks, which would be a massive, massive boost, which kind of leads to my take for this segment is, look, the Colts run defense has been atrocious over the past, 6 weeks without Grover Stewart, especially when JuJu Brents went down as well. Getting both these players back, or at least getting Grover Stewart back, should be a major, major boost to this Colts run defense, which is a massive thing when you're facing a quarterback like Jake Browning. We're going to get into it more in our third segment. We talk more about what the Colts defense need to do against Jake Browning in this game. But when you look at what the Bengals were able to do last week when Jake Browning threw for over 300 yards against the Jacksonville Jaguars and was hyper efficient. I mean, everything was under 10 yards. It was quick. The ball was out of his hands. And really the reason why they're able to do that is because the Jaguars defense was not getting any wins early in the possession. They were not getting any wins on first or second down, whether that was a run play or a pass play by the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, getting a player back like Grover Stewart, I mean, that's certainly happening. Grover Stewart is certainly playing in this game. Getting someone back like Grover Stewart just to stymie a rushing attack, to keep those first down runs that usually go for 8 yards against this Colts defense now, to turn those into 1, 2, maybe 3 yard gains. That keeps an offense off track. That gets the quarterback thinking a little bit more. That gets them a little off rhythm. And then you get a cornerback like JuJu Brents where, you obviously get the impact in the passing game, but JuJu Brents is a much better run defending corner than the two guys that the Colts have had out there the last couple weeks. Jalen Jones really struggled this past week in the run game against Derrick Henry. I thought it was easily his worst game of the year in terms of coverage and run defense. Missed a lot of tackles. Obviously, he didn't fill his run lane on that Derrick Henry long 22-yard touchdown run in the first quarter. So Jalen Jones really, really struggled in the run game this past week. And we know Darrell Baker Jr. has not been the best tackler this season either. So getting a JuJu Brents level guy out there, I mean, again, it really helps your pass coverage because JuJu Brents is a really good young corner. But getting him out there for run defense as well, I'm not saying he's as good a tackler as Kenny Moore II, but he's good. He's really good. Like, he's not that good because nobody's as good a tackler at corner as Kenny Moore II, but very, very good player that is really good in run defense as well. So just getting JuJu Brents back and potentially getting JuJu Brents back, and getting Grover Stewart back should help keep this Bengals offense behind the sticks a little more than what they were this past weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, against the Bengals, against the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Bengals were able to do whatever they wanted. They were able to throw the ball short on first and second down, even on third down. They were able to run the ball effectively. I mean, this Bengals offense does not run the ball very well, but they ran the ball with great efficiency against the Jacksonville Jaguars run defense that has been amongst the best in football this entire season. So the Bengals are rolling into this matchup off of their best game of the season without their superstar quarterback, Joe Burrow. But what the Colts need to do is they need to keep that offense off kilter with great run defense, with winning on first down, winning on second down, and getting these players back. Again, it's only potentially. We don't know if JuJu Brents will certainly be back, but at least getting Grover Stewart back is such a big boost to this defense in terms of winning those first and second downs. I mean, we look at this Colts defense this season. They're one of the better defenses in football on third down. I think they're 11th in the NFL in third down conversion success rate. So they're really good when you get them to third down, when they get offenses third down. But the struggle since Grover Stewart's suspension has been getting teams to third down. This is when teams are moving the ball on them, is when they're converting, first downs on first down or second down. They're continuing drives early in the series and not getting into those obvious passing situations on third down. Again, the Colts are really good when they do force those third downs, but it's about forcing those third downs, consistently. Getting a Grover Stewart back, and then again, potentially a JuJu Brents back in this game goes a long, long way to getting teams to those third down situations. And it helps the Colts linebackers. I mean, we've seen the Colts linebackers kind of take a step back since Grover Stewart's suspension. I know Zaire Franklin's been a little banged up. EJ Speed's stepping into a bigger role. So there are other reasons. But when Grover Stewart went out with that suspension, these linebackers have played a lot slower, a lot more cautiously. And again, is leading to bigger run gains up the middle and obviously to all sides right now with the Colts run defense. So I can't understate how big of an impact it is to have Grover Stewart back in the lineup and also how big it would be to have JuJu Brents potentially coming back in this lineup as well. But some other minor injury notes. Amir Speed looks like he's also questionable going into this game, the cornerback who has typically been a game day inactive, so he probably would be a game day inactive regardless. And then EJ Speed, linebacker that's been filling in as a starter, looks like he's going to be a game time decision as well with a knee injury. So we'll see what happens with that. But Colts defense could be getting a lot of extra help this week if Grover Stewart's playing. Grover Stewart's certainly playing. But if JuJu Brents plays and if EJ Speed plays, this Colts defense is going to be the healthiest they've been all year, and they're going to be at their full potential. So hopefully we get those guys on the field and the Colts are able to do a lot more against the Cincinnati Bengals offense than what the Jacksonville Jaguars did this past week. But coming up, guys, we're going to go through our keys of the week. We're going to talk about the Colts offense, what they need to do to have success in this game, and how they can just, keep the success rate high and also convert in the red zone against a tough Cincinnati Bengals defense. Guys, why root for your favorite team on an empty stomach? Why do anything on an empty stomach? Order on DoorDash and save on football watch party favorites, or just save on favorites in general. I love DoorDash so much. It's my favorite app in existence. Whenever I have a long day at work, either doing this job or my other two jobs or whatever it is, I love coming home and just saying, you know what? I'm not cooking. I'm not going out. I'm staying home, getting my favorites with DoorDash. Again, if I were in Indy right now, I would have Portillo's right in front of me. I love Portillo's so much in Indy. Whenever I stay with Jake over there in Brownsburg, I just love it. Oh, God, I really wish I could have Portillo's right now. But don't worry, DoorDash has got me covered. They sent me a really nice bag here, and this bag has been carrying my food all week. So whether I'm ordering from a local place here in Virginia where I live, or I'm ordering from some some big chain restaurant. I just throw it right in my bag. And when I'm ready for it, I eat it after podcasting. I eat it, after I get home from work or whatever. DoorDash has been fantastic with all this stuff. But yeah, again, game day favorites on the weekend, whatever you need, DoorDash has got you covered. So get prepared before game day, stock up on your favorite appetizers, order your tailgate gear on DoorDash, and then get ready to watch your favorite team win. Watch your Colts win with DoorDash. That's 50% off, up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more with your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCKED23. That's subject to change. Terms apply. Again, guys, DoorDash is fantastic any time of the week, any day of the week, but especially on Sundays when you're watching your Colts win and extend this win streak. Don't forget to use code LOCKED23 for 50% off, up to a $10 value with your first order when you download the DoorDash app and spend $15 or more. Subject to change. Terms apply. Alrighty, everydayers, we're back. We're talking Indianapolis Colts. We're talking Cincinnati Bengals in this big matchup this weekend. Before we dive into more of this conversation, though, I want to remind you guys that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, guys, again, we're talking Indianapolis Colts, Cincinnati Bengals, and we're talking about this Colts offense and what the Colts offense needs to do to continue their success that they've had the last 2 weeks against a really tough Cincinnati Bengals defense. Now, luckily for the Colts offense, they've been ready for kind of matchups like this because they've been playing some tougher defenses. Now, the last 2 weeks, they've played weaker pass defenses, but stronger run defense. Cincinnati Bengals are kind of the same way. The Cincinnati Bengals are the opposite. They're a really strong pass defense and a kind of a weaker run defense, despite having a guy like DJ Reader up the middle. Sorry for that confusion there. But this is a tough Cincinnati Bengals defense. They're really well coached on that side of the ball. They are missing a couple players in this one, but that doesn't really stop you too much. But again, the Indianapolis Colts have faced a lot of tough defenses this year. They've played against the Baltimore Ravens. They've played against the Tennessee Titans twice. They've played against the Houston Texans early in the season, who's an ascending defense. And it doesn't get easier from here on out with the defenses they're playing. So the Indianapolis Colts are ready for a matchup like this. They know what they have to do. They have an offensive play caller who has solutions to a lot of things. My key for the offense in this one, when it comes to generating offense and scoring points, is feed your star player. I know Jonathan Taylor is out in this game, but feed Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman Jr. has ascended this year to a new level. He's kind of taken off to a place where I didn't know if he could reach it. I didn't know if he could reach like pure wide receiver 1 status with the Indianapolis Colts. I thought, maybe he could be a high end level, like wide receiver 2, or maybe like a low end wide receiver 1, but he's a good, solid player to have. This year, though, he's kind of expanded his role from good player to have to like the engine that the offense runs on. I wrote an article for horseshoehuddle.com this week where I did some film work on looking at Michael Pittman Jr.'s role against the Tennessee Titans. And the thing is, it's kind of what he's been doing all year. It's not that he's not like a wide receiver 1 in the truest sense in terms of like he's going to win at all 3 levels of the field. He's going to win vertically. He's going to win the jump balls. He's going to do all these things. He's not DeAndre Hopkins out there like in his prime or something. He's not Devontae Adams. He's not Justin Jefferson. He's not that dominant ball winner wide receiver 1. But he's the engine that this offense runs around. If they need yards on first down, they need a quick 6, 7, 8 yard gain, they're going to Michael Pittman Jr. If they need a conversion on third down, like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, or a 4th down conversion, who are they going to? They're going to Michael Pittman Jr. They need a quick win from the slot, and Josh Downs is on the other side, so they can have this nice little matchups there. They're going to go to Pittman Jr. They need some run after catch. They're going to go to Michael Pittman Jr. They're going to do some really unique play call where they're going to have a wide receiver at the sniffer position, the sniffer tight end position in line, and they're going to run some RPO. They're going to run some wheel route. They're going to have Michael Pittman Jr. doing that. He is the engine that this offense runs around. He's their yards after catch guy. He's their third down guy. He's their guy who keeps their offense moving on the early downs and keeps them on track. Like, this offense is Michael Pittman Jr.'s right now. And I think that's the way you got to go about it. This is a star-dominated league, and Michael Pittman Jr. is the closest thing they had to a star on this offense. I think Alec Pierce has played well this year. I think Josh Downs has played really well for a rookie. I think Zach Moss has done admirably there at running back, and Jonathan Taylor, when he's played, has done some good things too. But this has been Michael Pittman Jr.'s offense this season. the Colts be wise to continually feeding their best player, and that is Michael Pittman Jr. Now, that doesn't mean you just throw jump balls to him constantly. Just keep working the way they have. Again, attach RPOs to the backside of runs with Michael Pittman Jr. in a one-on-one situation. You go to him on those first and second downs when you need positive gains to get to third and short. Go to him on the money downs, on third downs and fourth downs, and let him drive your offense like you've been doing all year long. So yeah, Michael Pittman Jr. is the key in this game. He's the key every game for this Indianapolis Colts offense. It's just get him the ball and let him do his thing, which takes me to another key on offense in this one, and that is, what Gardner Minshew are we getting? I think the Gardner Minshew we've seen the last 2 weeks has been much better, much more operational, and much more of what we need for the Indianapolis Colts to win football games. It hasn't been perfect, but I'm not asking him to be perfect. I'm just asking him to be operational and effective. And I think the Gardner Minshew we've seen these last 2 weeks has been good enough. And that's fine. That's how you can make the playoffs in the AFC, is to have a quarterback who's been good enough. Keep the ball moving. Keep it under control. Don't turn the ball over too much. I know he's had, 2 turnovers the last 2 weeks. So, I would rather those be 0, but we can live with 1 turnover a game. Hopefully that's all it is. Live with 1 a game. Make sure we jump on any additional ones that could happen, the rest of the game. But we can live with 1 a game. Just make sure they're not in horrible positions like the last 2 weeks have been, but I digress. Gardner Minshew, I think, has played some good football, though. There's been some mistakes, but again, keeping the offense moving. He's creating in the pocket when he has to. He's getting the ball to Michael Pittman Jr. He got the ball to Alec Pierce last week. He's doing some good things these last 2 games, and it's just continuing that against a tough Bengals defense that mixes a lot of coverages, that rolls a lot of coverages, that changes a lot of things in the pre and post snap, and really muddies the windows for quarterbacks. It's making sure that he is in control with what he can control and not doing too much back there. If he has to throw the ball away, that's fine. If he has to take a sack, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Just don't turn the ball over. Don't make that back-breaking mistake, and the Colts can win this game against Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are, again, they're a well-coached team. They're a tough team. They're a physical team. They come and they punch you in the mouth. But they are a team that is very beatable as long as you don't beat yourself. We saw with the Jacksonville Jaguars, they were going to win that game if it weren't for the Trevor Lawrence injury and some other things happening there late in that game. They're a very beatable team, this Bengals team. So the Colts just need to play within their own game. Gardner Minshew needs to play effective and efficient, and they need to feed Michael Pittman Jr. in the passing game. Hopefully they can get the run game going too. I mean, again, DJ Reader is a tough matchup on the inside, but for the most part, this Bengals run defense is a little bit more susceptible than they have been in years past. But at the end of the day, again, it's feed Michael Pittman Jr. and don't turn the ball over on offense if the Colts want to win this one. But coming up, we're going to talk about this Colts defense in detail, talk about the keys for this Colts defense. Again, we talked about it a little bit in the first segment, talking about Grover Stewart and JuJu Brents coming back. But we're going to talk about what they really need to do to get to Jake Browning early and often in this one to really throw this Bengals offense off kilter. But first, guys, PrizePicks is the most fun that I've had, winning up to 25 times my money this football season. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. With the basketball season here, you can now pick a combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League. That's a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, guys, I know all of you are big Indiana Pacers fans right now because they are going to win this in-season tournament, hopefully, playing some great basketball. So you can get like Tyrese Halliburton plus Michael Pittman Jr. for a combo of 10, 11 3-pointers made and receptions. I know that seems extremely low, but this is what you can do on PrizePicks. It's a really cool thing to do if you're a big basketball and football fan, like I know many of you guys are. PrizePicks even offers something really cool called a reboot policy, so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL to use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Alrighty, my beautiful everydayers, we are back talking Indianapolis Colts, talking Cincinnati Bengals, and now we're talking this Colts defense versus Jake Browning. Now, if I told you before the season that going into this Cincinnati Bengals game, the Colts were going to be facing Jake Browning instead of Joe Burrow, I'm sure we'd all be celebrating right now. We'd all be super excited, saying, "Okay, cool, that's a win in our back pocket." Like, who is Jake Browning? Or if you know who Jake Browning is, like, oh, cool, they're going against this noodle arm quarterback who threw arm punts at Washington to John Ross and I think it was Dante Pettis back in the day, throwing those arm punts up there. But no, Jake Browning is coming off of a fantastic game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a defense that has just dominated the Colts in the two matchups they played against. I mean, Jake Browning had over 300 yards passing in this one. I think he had over 80% completion percentage as well. I think he only had like 3 passes over 10 yards down the field, but still, Jake Browning had a fantastic game, especially for a backup quarterback that nobody even expected to be on an NFL roster at this point, let alone starting NFL games. So Jake Browning appears to be a tougher matchup than what it looked like a couple weeks ago, or what it would have looked like if I told you that before the season started. So really the key for this Colts defense is getting them out of rhythm, getting them into those third and longs. I talked about it in the first segment here, where the Bengals last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars were able to do whatever the heck they wanted on first and second down. They were able to run the ball effectively. They were able to throw the ball effectively. They were able to get highly successful plays early and often, on the downs, or just early and often in the game for their offense. So a big thing for this Colts defense is just forcing the second and long, forcing the third and long, forcing them off rhythm. Make them do something more than just throwing screen passes or throwing short passes or running up the middle. Make them actually have to do longer developing plays. Make Jake Browning hold the ball for a second. Make him move off of his spot if he wants to find his receiver. Again, I'm not trying to take anything away from Jake Browning. I think he had a really strong game, especially for a backup quarterback, but he was able to do a lot of things with a lot of ease in this past game. He was able just to get the ball out of his hand quickly, get it to his playmakers, and let that star-studded wide receiver group just do their thing. If the Colts really want to disrupt him, just get some pressure, force him into second and long, force him a third and long, make him hold the ball for a second, and let Samson Ebukam and Kwity Paye and Dio Dangbo and DeForest Buckner just get after him. The Colts defensive line has been a major, major strength in recent weeks, but they can't really operate if it's going to be 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 3. That's not a recipe for success. And that's exactly what the Bengals were able to do last week against the Jaguars defense, is get into those really optimal third downs and just move the ball at will once they got to those optimal third downs. If the Colts want to have success, you can't let them get into those 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s. It's basically what the Colts offense tries to do with Gardner Minshew, is get into really short third down situations. So you're not making Gardner Minshew go through a full read and rip the ball down the field. You're making him just do that quick one read stuff that he excels at. Jake Browning's in a very similar vein, where he's going to be a good quarterback if he can just take one step back on his hitch and deliver it to Jamar Chase or deliver it to T. Higgins. Those are some of the best receivers in football. And he can really operate an offense if it's just getting the ball out of his hand quickly. But if you're the Colts defense, you can't let that happen. It has to be 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. Make him have to sit back there for an extra second. Make him skittish in the pocket. Make him have to move off his initial spot. And that's when you're going to start seeing the mistakes. Again, he's not this highly, he's not a super strong arm quarterback. He's not this highly gifted, talented quarterback that even like a Joe Burrow is. So yeah, Jake Browning is not this perfect quarterback that the Colts are playing against. Obviously, there's game plan for success against him, but if they're going to get into third and short situations, they're going to pick this Colts defense apart all day. So the Colts need to get after him on first and second down, get them off rhythm, and do their thing. But again, another big aspect of all this is, what's the Colts run defense going to look like? That's another major key in this game, is, will the Colts run defense look like what they've looked like the past 6 weeks, even with Grover Stewart back, or will they return to what they were looking like when Grover Stewart played early in the season? Now, they did get gashed in 2 games early this season with Grover Stewart playing, the Los Angeles Rams game and the Baltimore Ravens game. We'll do a little bit of a mulligan in that Ravens game because Lamar Jackson contributed to most of those rushing yards. And, Lamar Jackson's a quarterback. It's a little different than facing against Jake Browning. But that Rams game, a lot of outside zone runs, a lot of getting out to the perimeter. And even with Grover Stewart, the Colts run defense was really porous in that game. So what's this Colts run defense going to look like against this Bengals team coming off their best rushing performance of the season? Will the Bengals come in with momentum and run all over this Colts defense despite getting Grover Stewart back? Or will the Colts, again, force those 2nd and 9s, 2nd and 10s, 3rd and 9s, 3rd and 10s? Will the Colts be able to force that against a quarterback that hasn't really faced that too much? Again, Jake Browning's had 2 starts now in 2 weeks. He had one against the Pittsburgh Steelers where he was forced out of rhythm and forced back and looked really, really bad in that game. And he's had one where his offense was on track at all times and they were able to continually move the ball on the first and second down. And he looked highly effective and highly efficient in that game and threw for over 300 yards. So it's kind of easy to see what the game plan is for the Colts in this one. Be aggressive on first and second down and do your thing on third down that they've been doing all year long. Get after him on third down and just don't let him get comfortable in the pocket. It's not a really difficult game plan, but it has the, it could be a Gardner Minshew type game from a couple years ago with the Jaguars versus the Colts, where Gardner Minshew just shreds them because they're able to stay on rhythm the entire game. So again, this Colts defense needs to come to play. They can't sleepwalk this game just because they're going against Jake Browning. But they really need to force, again, the second and longs, third and longs. That's the biggest thing for this Colts defense in this upcoming game. I think that's all I have for today, though, guys. Again, massive game between the 7-5 Colts and the 6-6 Bengals. The Colts are currently sitting at the 6th seed in the AFC. They have the potential to move up to the 5 seed with a win. And with a win, they'd only be, one game back of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So pretty big game here with the Colts and Bengals this weekend. The Bengals, again, 6-6, trying to punch their ticket into the AFC playoff race as well, despite missing Joe Burrow. So really competitive game with the Colts. Before I leave today, though, make sure you guys check out our Locked On Sports Today show, which is the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. If you guys don't already, make sure you're following at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at Zach Hicks 2, all on Twitter. Also subscribe to us on YouTube where we list your podcast. We'd love your guys' ratings, reviews, and we'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning. Jake will have a tomorrow morning episode. So yeah, tomorrow morning.